Zoella is just one of those creators who really helped develop part of this platform, whose name is associated with some of YouTube and social media's biggest accomplishments. She was an absolute powerhouse and force to be reckoned with at the height of her career. But what if she never posted to YouTube? Hello gorgeous and welcome back, or welcome to your first butterfly effect video, where I show my high school teachers that yes, focusing more on YouTubers rather than my studies actually does pay off. Like, not well, but it's better than we all expected. You all still seem to be loving these little brain adventures of mine that I eventually put into a video format, and I've had so many requests for more OG YouTubers, but also more beauty and makeup content related YouTubers as well. So I thought, where do these two circles overlap to make a Venn diagram? And I landed on the one, the only Zoe Sugg. But before we do dive into Zoella's butterfly effect, please let me know who you want me to do next, but also a teeny bit of housekeeping. Disclaimer and content warning: in this video, as I've already specified, we are going to be outlining what if Zoella never posted to YouTube. I don't think we're going to be discussing anything in depth that would be particularly triggering, but just in case I've missed something, I will put them up there, and if you find any of these potentially triggering, please proceed with caution or consider clicking off of the video altogether, because at the end of the day, I don't want for my content to jeopardize your happiness and jeopardize your well-being. Also, for full transparency, I'm neither here nor there when it comes to Zoella, so I am as unbiased as I can get in comparison to previous butterfly effect videos. And of course, as always, even though I trust every single one of you, I still need to explicitly state that I do not promote, encourage, or endorse any kind of mean, negative, harassing, malicious behavior. My videos are strictly for entertainment purposes only, so I do not want for any kind of mean, hateful, harassing, malicious behavior to go out there into the world because of something that I've said or on my behalf. We are, of course, allowed to keep it cheeky, we're allowed to keep it messy, and we are allowed to keep it fun, but please keep it to this comment section and this channel only. With all of that said, let us start to outline what if Zoe Sugg never posted to YouTube. Zoella is considered to be one of YouTube's OGs and one of the big YouTube OGs. There was a time on YouTube where you couldn't get on without having the name Zoella being dropped. She was one of the most sought after, profitable, and influential creators on the platform at the height of her career. And one of the things I find particularly fascinating, or I guess for lack of better phrasing, fun when it comes to Zoella, is that we really got to watch her grow up online. She started posting to YouTube at the age of 19, and at this age, we are all still learning who we are as a person and where we fit into this world. And we've watched her grow up to be this incredibly successful, almost 32-year-old creator, businesswoman, author, and mother, with all of the accomplishments and controversies that we have seen throughout this evolution. Zoe is definitely one of those creators that I just get this hit of nostalgia from, because I was never an avid watcher of hers, I was never a subscriber, but there is quite a handful of videos that I remember going home and watching to make up my afternoon entertainment, and also used to help me style myself for the next day of high school. But by watching Zoe's content, as casual as it was, I was introduced to Thatcher Joe, being Joe Sugg, Zoe's younger brother, and I was a big enough fan that I still have this as evidence. I've only ever bought one piece of YouTuber merch. This is it. I don't know how to feel about it being Sugg Life merch, because I didn't realize that I was a big enough fan of Thatcher Joe that I spent over $40 of my chicken shop money to get the hoodie. It is now my comfy laundry day hoodie, don't judge me. Zoe Sugg, known famously as Zoella, originally started her online career with her blog Zoella, or Team Zoella, while she was an apprentice interior designer. On this blog, she would post about essentially exactly what she would post on her Zoella YouTube channel that she eventually expanded to. She would post review and haul-like content of Lush and other beauty products, hair ideas, and possibly even tutorials. But the pictures in the articles no longer exist, as the articles have been archived. Hair of the day blog posts and outfit of the day blog post too. So very much your typical Zoella aesthetic lifestyle content, just in blog form rather in vlog form. So if Zoe Sugg never posted to YouTube, I think this is possibly where we could find her in this alternate reality that we are mapping out. By day, an interior designer, and by night, blogging. But knowing the Zoella that we are presented online and the business mind that she has and the work ethic she has, I would dare say she would be one of the most sought after interior designers nationally. And all of these dominoes cease to fall in Zoella's absence from YouTube. One of the big ones in my mind that I briefly mentioned before being Thatcher Joe. Joe Sugg is Zoe's younger brother and started posting to YouTube August 8th, 2012 with his video An Introduction to Thatcher Joe, where very accurately to its title, Joe introduces himself and his channel with some very typical 2012 quirky humor. The camera woman for this introduction is actually our Zoella. She can be heard on camera telling Joe not to touch the spider and also in the background giggling. Joe at this point had been featured in a few of Zoe's videos, and some of Zoe's audience had actually been requesting that he start a channel on his own, which from my perspective makes a lot of sense because their vibe as siblings on camera is quite bubbly, quite relatable, and quite charming. So of course people are going to want to see more content from Zoe, but also from Joe. So this can really go only one of two ways, being that Joe does start the YouTube channel in Zoe's absence, or Joe doesn't start the YouTube channel. If Joe doesn't start his YouTube channel, then a whole lot ceases to exist. He has had countless TV and movie cameos, including the iconic moment in British Bake Off where Joe faints after slicing his finger open, his runner-up season in Strictly Come Dancing where he met former partner Diane, as well as Joe and Casper Hit the Road, which I have not yet had the pleasure of watching. The graphic novel series Username Evie that Joe is the author of probably wouldn't have been picked up, as I am guessing his platform was a huge selling point to the publishing house that published the series. Hours of work, content, and awareness for a handful of very deserving charities, and not to mention 4 separate YouTube channels including Thatcher Joe Gaming, Thatcher Joe Vlogs, and In the Pan with Joe and Diane. So hundreds, possibly even thousands of videos, important collaborations, billions of views, and therefore moments of entertainment, and over 12 million subscribers across all of his channels that cease to exist. That is a metric fuck ton of dominoes. But on the other hand, if Joe does still start this YouTube channel even in Zoe's absence from the platform, he is still going to suffer quite a trajectory slowdown for his online career, because in this alternate reality, Joe doesn't have this direct line to Zoella's audience of a few 100,000 at this point, which is a huge jumpstart for someone looking to start a YouTube channel already, but it's a huge jumpstart for someone looking to start a YouTube channel in 2012 because there was less people on the platform to subscribe to you. Not to mention that social media and the potential of online fame was still working itself out back then, which potentially means that some of the career path that Joe has seen over this almost decade of him posting may not have ever happened because he may not have been as notable as someone else without his sister's influence. He still of course could have been a successful YouTuber in his sister's absence because 1, there's nothing stopping him, but 2, Joe never needed Zoe to make content. He was perfectly fine making content on just his own. He was able to stand on his own as a YouTuber. But the jumpstart that he had in comparison to other people is incredibly valuable, and if you have it, 100% use it. So in the projects where Joe was chosen to be a part of the project but wasn't a crucial factor in its development, potentially someone would have been chosen in his place. Who would be taking his place in YouTube's boy band? I have absolutely no idea. But it is still an incredible series of dominoes that either don't fall or fall incredibly differently because Zoe Sugg never decided to expand her blog to the colourful horizons of YouTube. And not only can we potentially hypothetically say goodbye to all of the entertainment that Joe Sugg has brought to us over the years on YouTube and therefore social media, but we can also say goodbye to Zalfie, being the couple name of Zoe and her longtime partner Alfie Days. Alfie started his YouTube channel Pointless Blog July 27th, 2009 and started posting August 4th, 2009 with his video titled, "Is Charlie Really So Cool Like?" In this video you get an incredibly engaging 15-year-old Alfie giving an almost 1.5 minute review of a fellow YouTuber Charlie Is So Cool Like. The video is exactly what you would expect from a 15-year-old in 2009 giving a review of one of their favorite YouTubers. Like whatever you're thinking right now, exactly that. So Alfie was actually posting to YouTube before Zoella was posting to YouTube, and Alfie was quite popular online as well before the two had even met, and the two actually met when Zoe and her friend lined up at a Pointless Blog meet and greet. Alfie career-wise would have been just fine in Zoella's hypothetical absence from YouTube because Zoe never made Alfie. Alfie never needed her. She was only ever a fan, a supporter. There may of course be some sort of career trajectory slowdown for Alfie due to videos of the two collaborating, but from what I can see, it was actually the overlapping of their careers ideas that sparked a romance. And an internet without Alfie isn't the biggest thing, don't get me wrong, but it still feels a little bit odd. Zoe and Alfie have always had this unique brand of privacy when it comes to their relationship, and as an outsider, the vibe that I get from it is a situation of we have nothing to hide, but also we don't see the necessity in highlighting it either. But even with this unique brand of privacy, it would still be really odd to see an internet without Alfie, or possibly, potentially, someone else in Zoella's place. An incredibly interesting spiderweb starts to weave when just one person decides to not post to YouTube. What happens to the first YouTube wax figures in Madame Tussauds? Would Alfie still have to beg the internet to understand that he is not a Tory? So already we have no Zoella, no Alfie, and either no or Diet Thatcher Joe. So because of this, the Brit crew and therefore the British invasion on YouTube would look incredibly different. In 2013-2014, it was becoming increasingly difficult to be able to come onto YouTube without one of these creators being recommended to you. Jim Chapman, Marcus Butler, Alfie Days, Louise Pentland, Tanya Burr, Casper Lee, Naomi Smart, and Zoe and Joe Sugg were all members of this Brit crew and were all signed to Gleam Futures, a talent management agency at the time. Other British YouTubers, of course, would be associated with the Brit crew via friendships and video collaborations, but it was these few who were the official crew. I've said this so many times in previous videos, but friendships and relationships are incredibly valuable and incredibly profitable. With just one person, one creator in a video, you have one atmosphere. With two creators, you have three atmospheres. You have each individuals, and then you have where those atmospheres overlap until you get a Venn diagram. So there's more room for spontaneity, excitement, and entertainment because there's more room for opportunity with this extra creator. But it's not just this, because this content is also incredibly relatable because we all have friends, we all have family, a lot of us have siblings, and a lot of us have been in relationships. So watching those dynamics online in these collaborations and allowing us to be in on the fun, in on the joke, allows us to relate to these creators more. These Brit crew members may not have known that what they were doing was incredibly smart, but at the same time, I am not surprised that their careers spiked so rapidly back in 2014. These YouTubers were constantly collabing together, making huge amounts of entertaining, family-friendly content rapidly, allowing their audience to be in on the fun and in on the joke, cross-promoting multiple times a month on various different channels. So as one grew, they all grew because there was a trust in them individually, but also a trust in their online friendships. The most popular out of the crew was of course Zoella, having reached 6 million subscribers by September 2016 before YouTube even promoted her channel in their launch of primetime ads. Rolling Stones reported in their story covering what happened to the Brit crew that the crew would actually joke about putting Zoe in their thumbnails because that would guarantee them more views for the video. From what was reported, it was obvious that everyone in the crew, including Zoe, knew how profitable she was and knew that it was going to be some time before this started to plateau, considering that it was rumored that Zoe was earning an average of £50,000 a month in 2016. So I don't think it's completely out of the question to speculate that if Zoe never posted to YouTube, the Brit crew would be greatly affected. Not so much that it would be disastrous and everything would be ruined, because I don't think it was only Zoe that brought them together as friends and collaborators, and I don't think it's only Zoe that got them all views. Because they were all this similar brand of white, English, cookie cutter, relatable, family-friendly entertainment, and they could hold their own outside of collaborations with Zoe, but also just outside of collaborations in general. But as the breadwinner of this crew, Zoe did potentially bring them very loyal subscribers that they otherwise wouldn't have had access to. So all of those career trajectories that possibly slowed down. Does YouTube's boy band ever happen? Does Tanya Burr ever become a successful actress? And does Louise still get to go to Buckingham Palace? If you were an avid watcher of any of these Brit crew members and the way that you found them was a Zoella collaboration, then how would you have found them? Did you find this creator through a Alfie video? If so, then how would you have found them? Did you find this video through a Thatcher Joe collaboration? If so, then how would you have found them? So that's around 42 million subscribers collaboratively that are potentially affected, and billions of views and moments of entertainment, all because Zoe decided not to post to YouTube. And I'm not gonna lie, this is definitely where my mind started to get carried away, trying to map out all of these hypothetical realities just because one person didn't post to YouTube, until we get this huge spiderweb with Zoe at the epicenter. Because Zoe never posted to YouTube, and therefore Joe and other Brit crew members potentially have a career trajectory slowdown, which means that anyone that is associated with Joe and other Brit crew members possibly have a career trajectory slow down as well because they no longer have the same access to new audiences. So because of that, there is the possibility, the potential that this glorious nugget on the internet ceases to exist. This video is just one of those videos that live rent-free in my mind. Making sure my shirt is white enough for Katie was one of the funniest things I had heard that week, that month, that year, that decade. And that's really one of the reasons I love making these videos, is finding all of these little webs that start to weave or unravel because one specific creator decided not to post to the platform. Zoella never posts, Joe potentially never gets on Strictly Come Dancing, which was a huge moment for UK social media creators. Alfie is never a YouTube staple piece, and the Brit crew may not have met the same fate of fortune and glory. So what happens to Hello World? Some people watching this video are just thinking to themselves, what on earth is Hello World? And some people are losing their minds because I just unlocked a memory that you forgot that you had. Hello World was like nothing you'd ever seen before. A 4-hour unconventional immersive YouTuber live show hosted at the Birmingham Genting Arena between October 28th to 29th, 2017. Brit crew member Jim Chapman posted a video called 7 Things You Need to Know About Hello World, #ad, where he ran through 7 things to know about Hello World. In this video, he specifies that there is the daytime section of Hello World and the nighttime show. The arena was going to be set up to have this outdoor feel, with Main Street running down the middle and a bunch of different stalls lining the streets, so there was something to always do, with games, classes, and other goodies going to be there. You may even get to bump into a YouTuber or two. You may even get to play with one of your favorite YouTubers. You may even film something. You just never know. Then the nighttime live show would have a lot of fun entertainment, including pranks, games, shows, talks, and live musical performances. It definitely wasn't going to be one of your standard meet and greets where you would have to queue up for hours for one photo or autograph, because that's not fun for anyone. So with a huge lineup that included Zoella, Pointless Blog, Joe Sugg, Casper Lee, Rose and Rosie, Jim Chapman, Louise Pentland, Tyler Oakley, KSI, Marcus Butler, Ollie White, Jake Mitchell, Yana Vlogs, Katie Pix, Looking for Lewis, Lucy and Lydia, Jack Maynard, Mark Ferris, Nikki and Sammy, The Shades, Josh Peters, and a New Hope Club, and a performance from the Vamps. And some of these creators actually allegedly had a stake in Hello World, meaning that they would profit off of the event not only as a performer, but as a stakeholder. You would expect that this would be an absolutely incredible experience for anyone who purchased tickets, and that the hundreds of dollars that some people spent attending this event would be completely worth it. When on YouTube has that ever been the case? Unfortunately, the overall experience for the vast majority was aggressively mediocre, with there being very little to do along Main Street considering how many people actually attended the event, with these long lines and queues to be able to get into stalls, to the point where a mother actually reported to The Sun that her and her daughter lined up for 2 hours for Zoe's Winter Wonderland just to get into the stall to see a bunch of fake trees and fake snow, and Zoe wasn't actually there. I'm pretty sure you would get a similar, if not the same experience for free if you went to a Christmas outlet warehouse. From what I can tell, there wasn't actually any carnival rides at the event, and some of the featured guests weren't actually sticking to the schedule, so when they were scheduled to be somewhere specific and people had been lining up to meet that schedule, they weren't there. Security was also allegedly lacking, and just overall, people felt scammed. This immersive experience was like nothing we'd ever seen on Earth, because up until this point, YouTube audiences have never seen such a poorly organized waste of money that disguised itself as better than a standard meet and greet. So simply, Hello World Live asked, how much can we let down our fans and still ethically charge money? So Zoe never posts to YouTube. The Brit crew loses a key member, and I would dare say the most profitable member, with all of the info around the Brit crew. Some of these Brit crew members allegedly had shares in Hello World, 2 of these creators being Joe Sugg and Zoe Sugg. So Hello World loses at least 1 shareholder, potentially 2, and from my understanding this means that they also lose an organizer. But this also means that any finances that Zoe potentially brought to the table cease to exist. Once again, this can go one of 2 ways. Either Hello World doesn't happen, or Hello World does happen, but incredibly differently, because Zoella is no longer a draw card. It isn't Zoe's sole fault that the overall event was bitterly disappointing for so many, so I would say that even if Zoe never posted to YouTube and the show still carried through, it would still be the same disappointment, just without her Winter Wonderland. Therefore, all of the media created around Hello World, whether positive or negative, would still exist just without Zoe and her Winter Wonderland. But with other YouTube conventions in the UK existing, like Social in the City, formerly known as Summer in the City, there is the possibility that without Zoe Zoe and her effect overall with the UK YouTube community that there wouldn't be enough backing for Hello World Live to exist, which means that all of these YouTubers don't have to suffer the backlash, and the association of scamming their fans no longer exists on their online resume. Hundreds, possibly even thousands of fans are no longer wasting their money, wasting their afternoon, and are no longer going home incredibly disappointed with their experience, but also disappointed with their favorite YouTubers. And it also means that all of the media focusing on Hello World Live and its exceptionally meh reality ceases to exist. This ranges from tweets to articles to commentary and tea videos on YouTube. As I have said in I think almost all of my butterfly effects at this point in time, if the reason you found a specific creator was because they covered Hello World Live and how trash it was, then how would you have found them otherwise? Personally, I wouldn't have found Jackmate, I wouldn't have found I Am Alex, and because of that, I wouldn't have found James Marriott. And that's one big thing that I found during the research of this video, is that Zoella not only brought in views for the Brit crew, but she also brought in a lot of views for the tea drama commentary community as well. Because even though Zoella has had millions of people loving and supporting her over the years and has done some incredible things with her platform, she is unfortunately no stranger to scandals and controversy. Even something as monumental as becoming an author, releasing Girl Online November 25th, breaking the record for the highest first week sales of a first-time novelist, and going on to become the fastest selling book of the year should have been all about the celebrations, had controversy attached. Not long after the release of Girl Online, fans started speculating that the book wasn't 100% written by Zoe. Not in the way where someone went through with a fine-tooth comb and dotted all the T's and crossed all the I's, but in the way of sentencing, paragraphing, paging, and chaptering wasn't completed by Zoe herself. Considering how Zoe promoted the book on her channel as well as on the W.H. Smith YouTube channel, Zoe made it seem like it was a solo adventure, that the book was 100% authentically Zoe Sugg. And really that was, or still is, Zoe's overall branding. You may not like her as a person, you may not enjoy her content, but regardless, Zoe was relatable and she was always authentically herself online. So when a Penguin spokesperson told the Sunday Times, to be factually accurate, you would need to say Zoe Sugg did not write the book Girl Online on her own. Zoe had also thanked in the acknowledgements of the book everyone at Penguin for helping me put together my first novel, especially Amy Alwood and Siobhan Kerham, who were with me every step of the way. Essentially, these rumors were confirmed to be true, with Zoe's words backing up the publisher's statement, and the unhappy masses were not subtle in voicing their disappointment in Zoe. People were calling Zoe a fraud, and comments on Twitter, review boards, Instagram, and YouTube were at times pretty brutal. People were even harassing Siobhan Kerham, who was credited as the ghostwriter of Zoe's book. And going back through this situation, I think I am possibly desensitized at this point with my history of the beauty community's tea drama scandals and controversy series, but also just with everything that I've seen since 2018, because a book that wasn't 100% written by Zoe Sugg and this amount of backlash just doesn't seem to line up. But also the harassment that Siobhan received was absolutely wild to me. Like, she's an author. She loves writing. It is her job to write. Ghostwriting is at times a part of that job. Like, why? She was doing her job. Why is she getting harassed for doing her job? Why are we going after Siobhan? Not everything in the world has to make sense to me, and this is just gonna be one of those things. For Zoe, like, yeah, possibly could have been a little bit more open about how much help she received when bringing these characters and plots to life, but at the same time, I think that contracts might have gotten in the way of this one, but even then, this scandal does seem quite meh, considering everything else that has happened online since 2018. But regardless of my personal opinions, this was the biggest scandal for Zoe up until this point. Previous to December of 2014, she had only been publicly called out and shamed for vlogging whilst driving, which, with that one, if you are doing another activity that takes your primary focus or takes any of your focus off the huge bit of machinery that you were using, cease one of the activities. Either cease driving or cease the activity. It is not just your life that is at risk. But for the Girl Online controversy, Zoe actually received so much backlash that she had to take a few days off of the internet to unfog her brain because it was just all a little bit too much. To this day, Zoe still maintains that all of the characters and all of the plots were developed 100% by her. It was just bringing those characters and plots to life that she needed assistance with. But this scandal couldn't have been a complete disgrace to Zoe's somewhat untarnished name, because she's gone on to produce 2 more books for the Girl Online series. There's Girl Online on Tour and Girl Online Going Solo. Personally, I haven't read any of the Girl Online series because, as I have said on this channel before, I'm not much of a reader because my brain speed and my eye speed go at different rates, so I get more stress than fun from reading. And to everyone who commented on those videos and said, "Hey, JJ, have you ever considered being tested for ADHD?" I have been recently. and no one's surprised. Checks out. So if Zoella never posts to YouTube, then I'm positive she isn't going to be getting this book deal, because I'm guessing one of the reasons, if not the reason, she was given so much assistance in creating this book is because of her level of fame. This level of assistance isn't given to just anyone, it is given to the people that are profitable, and I'm going to trust Zoe on this one, and I'm going to go with the information that she created the plot, she created the characters all by herself. So if she isn't there to create this book, then this book never exists. So Girl Online and its sequels cease to exist, and because of this, all of the media around Girl Online and its sequels cease to exist as well. This could be something as simple as tweets, comments, book reviews, but it could also be something as crucial as a video. If the reason you found a specific creator was because they did a video on Girl Online, then how would you have found them? But even though this book and this series of books has gained a lot of hate online, there are still quite a few people who have gained something positive from the existence of this book series. There's still people out there who have enjoyed this book series. And of course, what I'm about to say is a hypothetical, but I wouldn't be surprised to hear that Zoe's openness to discuss anxiety throughout this series of books made one of her young fans feel less alone. Because for those who don't know me, hi, hello, I'm Rifenstine. I was diagnosed with severe anxiety and depression when I was 12, and I felt incredibly alone because there was hardly any constructive conversation out there outside of a school counselor's office or outside of my child psychologist's office that my parents almost went broke paying for. And how mental health disorders, specifically anxiety and depression for me, were being portrayed in the media, I felt like an absolute fucking freak. 12-year-old JJ to like 20-year-old JJ was a very sad, angry human. So even though the writing may be quite cliche and the plots may be quite cheesy, I can still respect and appreciate Zoe's efforts to talk about anxiety so openly. And if she was to never post to YouTube and therefore this series never exists, that means that this really small conversation about anxiety ceases to exist as well. And I think that's quite sad. I think I have way too much empathy for this hypothetical situation, because if there was a piece of media out there that depicted anxiety or depression in a way where I could relate to it and in a way where it wasn't the butt of the joke, I possibly would have been less angry. I possibly would have been less sad. I would have possibly felt less like a freak. So if there is media out there that helps people not experience that the way that I experienced that, then that's what I want. One thing people won't be sad about, however, is wasting their money on Zoella's 2017 advent calendar. 2017 was just a bad year to be Zoella. You had Hello World first, then you had this only like a month or two later. Whoever her PR team or manager was, what the fuck were you doing? Around November of 2017, Zoella released an advent calendar collaboration with Boots, a pharmacy beauty retailer. For just £50, you could get your hands on your own Zoella 12 Days of Christmas advent calendar. People were excited, people bought, people received, people were very disappointed, people felt scammed, and the internet exploded. Because if you purchased the Zoella 12 Days of Christmas advent calendar, you would receive a bauble, confetti, a cookie cutter, another cookie cutter, stickers, a makeup bag, a candle, another candle, a room spray, a keyring, a notepad, and a pen that many found you could actually remake yourself for less than £13. The hashtag Scamella was incredibly popular over the next few weeks as people were voicing their frustrations with Zoe and this advent calendar. Essentially, people were saying that Zoe was exploiting her young audience by overcharging for cheap crap simply because her name was attached to it. Zoe then responded and addressed the situation in a 30-minute vlog, but at the end of the 30-minute vlog, and essentially said that she only gets a say in what's in the advent calendar and how it looks, but doesn't get a say in the cost of the advent calendar. Audience response to this statement is mixed, with some people accepting that it wasn't Zoe's fault, some saying that there is still some blame to be placed on Zoe, and some just not accepting the statement as the entire truth. Regardless, Boots saw the army of disappointed customers and changed the price of the calendar to £25 as of the 16th of November 2017. In my opinion, at least one person was being very, very greedy. Was it Zoe? Was it Boots? Was it someone else? Was it all of the above? I have absolutely no idea. But it was Zoe's advent calendar. It was her name, her brand, her face that was going to be attached to it. So if she truly didn't know about the price of the advent calendar, but then saw how many of her fans were disappointed at the cost of it, considering what was inside it, I'm pretty sure she could have turned around to Boots, put her foot down and said, "What the fuck, guys?" Like, at this point in time, we all knew the power of an influencer. We all knew the power of a person's platform when it came to working with companies. If an influencer with the level of subscribership that Zoella has and had back then tells you that you need to do better, people start scrambling because they know that they will lose business in one of the most profitable industries if they piss off someone with that level of subscribership, because they also know other people with that level of subscribership and they can tell them, hey, my experience working with this specific company was trash. Don't work with them. And you know what they'll do? Not work with them. Regardless, I don't know who was the greedy party. I think that Zoe could have done more. Doesn't matter now. This happened back in 2017. So Zoe never posts to YouTube and therefore isn't going to be collaborating with Boots with this 12 Days of Christmas advent calendar, because why would they collaborate with someone that isn't profitable? I still think that in this hypothetical alternate reality, Boots would have been wanting to collaborate with an influencer. I'm guessing that was always on the cards. So if Zoe wasn't there to be a part of this collaboration, they probably would have gone with someone else in the Brit crew. So I'm guessing Sprinkle of Glitter. And depending on who was the greedy party or parties in this situation, Sprinkle of Glitter or whoever actually replaces Zoella in this hypothetical alternate reality may not have had the same tarnish next to their name with this situation. That was an incredible amount of word salad. I hope that I got my point across. Fans would once again not be disappointed by Zoella in 2017 and would probably save their money and instead spend it on a £51 chocolate advent calendars. That's what I would be buying. And so many different content creators lose crucial content. This situation was wildly profitable for quite a few creators. It was a big story in the UK commentary drama tea communities. Personally, if Zoella never posted to YouTube, I never would have found Angelica Oles. So that is subscriber changes, views, and money for certain creators that ceases to exist. With all of the teas, drama, scandals, and controversies that have involved Zoella that I have researched for previous videos and researched for this video specifically, I found myself constantly thinking, wow, money does a lot of weird things to people. And don't get me wrong, I do understand to a certain extent. Like, if someone came up to me when I was borderline bankrupt last year and said, hey, I will give you $50,000 for this not illegal thing, just ethically questionable thing, I possibly would have said yes. Depending, probably would have said yes. So like, I do understand where greed, naivety, and desperation really mess with a person, but then I got to the furlough scheme and I thought, oh, that's right. I forgot. The millionaire needs COVID relief payments. Furlough scheme, from my understanding, was the UK or maybe just England's COVID relief payment scheme during 2020. It started in April, from my understanding, and aimed to run until July of 2020 initially. People under this scheme were to have up to 80% of their wages covered, or up to £25,000 a month. One of Zoella's team members out of a team of 6 was placed under this scheme, this employee's wages being about £25,000 a year. Zoe's entire business is online, and she has a lot of things that she does as a part of this business. She has her channels, her books, her blog, her Instagram, her makeup, her beauty line, her other merch. Heck, she was even able to monetize the Zoella aesthetic by launching her editing app Film in 2019. Do you want every aspect of your life to look like hashtag pumpkin spice latte? Well, I've got the tech for you! But all were online, and if they weren't online at the time, it wouldn't have been that difficult to transfer all services of that specific business to be online. So therefore, she would still be able to work and be paid during the pandemic. Also, as a lot of us found, online businesses were thriving through the pandemic because we weren't able to leave the house to do anything else. But not only that, Zoella at this time allegedly had a net worth of $5 million. Zoella at this point owned a mansion with her longtime partner Alfie Days that was also allegedly worth millions. Zoella at this point was also allegedly able to charge £20,000 per sponsorship. And during the pandemic, Zoella was seemingly able to do sponsored posts for BMW, GHD, Etsy, and Spotify. So could Zoe have easily paid for this employee out of pocket during the time of the pandemic? Yes. Did she really need this employee to be on this scheme in order for this employee to be paid adequately? No. Did other people and businesses need this money to survive? Yes. Was everyone able to get onto this scheme that needed to in order to survive? From my understanding, No. This situation genuinely scratched a part of my brain in the most aggravating way. I know that Zoe isn't the only rich influencer that allegedly used COVID payment relief schemes, but trash is trash and I will judge all equally. So if Zoe never posts to YouTube, then I highly doubt she's going to be employing this specific employee in this alternate reality wherever she ends up working. So therefore, she can't publicly exploit this scheme the way that she has exploited it, and therefore she doesn't suffer the backlash. This specific scheme has less exploitation, which is fabulous, and therefore more people who need the assistance are able to receive the assistance, and the internet loses one more story, which means less videos, less subscribers, less views, and less money for certain content creators. Of course, there's been a handful of other controversies that Zoella has been a focal point of, other than vlogging while driving, Hello World, ghost riding, advent calendar, and the Furlough Scheme. But these were the ones that I found were most highly talked about online and were most highly viewed online, because some of these T-drama commentary channels were receiving millions of views for their Zoella content. When Zoe collaborated with Colourpop on a palette back in 2019, there was even criticism that she was stealing opportunities from other creators, considering she wasn't really a beauty blogger anymore, that she was so irrelevant at this point in her career that what was really the point of doing this collaboration. And because of this, there was plenty of commentary and drama videos made around this topic. But of course, there was other people doing review and first impression like content. So once again, we have subscriber changes, views, and money for certain creators that ceases to exist. As for Colourpop, they probably would have just collaborated with a different influencer or just come out with one of their own palettes. But this is one really sad thing that I found when it came to Zoe and her effect, in similar vein to Gabby Hanna, but for different reasons. People just love to watch her fall, and people love to watch her fuck-ups, and people loved watching people talk about her falling and her fuck-ups. And past me is also guilty of this. If I saw a video pop up in my recommendeds that had Scamella in the title and a picture of Zoe with her face all warped through Photoshop as the thumbnail, I went from JJ to Gossip Goblin like that. And looking back at it, some of these situations I completely understand, and the apologies aren't mine to accept or deny, but it always seemed to be completely out of Zoe's control or someone else's fault. But some of the situations I just don't, and part of me starts to think people possibly just knew that if you put Zoe in the title and the thumbnail, it didn't matter if the video was positive or negative, that would help it gain more views. Going back through it all, it just seemed to me that there was as much love for Zoe and her successes as there was hate and criticism for her downfalls. So if Zoe never posts to YouTube, then yes, there is some unnecessary bullshit that ceases to exist, and that is quite lovely. But so much content, so many subscribers, so many views, so much money disappears for so many different creators in so many different niches and social circles. Hell, even YouTube would take a bit of a hit because Zoe was an OG YouTuber, so her presence, her content brought people back to the platform, and YouTube heavily benefited from this. Of course, it wouldn't be the biggest hit, it wouldn't completely destroy YouTube, but a hit is still a hit, and YouTube will still be hit if Zoe was absent from the platform. Even though I'm pretty indifferent to Zoe these days, like, she exists, that's it. I can sit here and be pretty close to unbiased, but of course not entirely. I can see the trash that she's been a part of and think, ew. I can see the relationships she's had over the years online, both platonic, romantic, familial, and business, and find that interesting. And I can sit there and look at her successes and think to myself, sick one. But I definitely respect and appreciate the amount of work she has done for charity over the years, and I definitely respect and appreciate her openness when it comes to expressing her struggles with anxiety, even though she has faced quite a lot of bitterness and criticism for expressing these struggles. Because even though, yes, it does benefit her character to launch the hashtag Don't Panic Button campaign and to be a part of the Band-Aid 30 charity single Don't They Know It's Christmas, from my personal perspective, her charity work and awareness work always felt organic with Zoe. Maybe it's just a sad fact that I just got so used to all of these channels posting these giving a homeless man $1,000, woo, videos, and seeing these videos getting millions of views and therefore their creators profiting thousands of dollars off of this act of charity. But seeing Zoe's charity work and awareness work and seeing how she talked about her own struggles with anxiety, it felt genuine. It just never felt like, hey, look at how good a person I'm being, even though I'm going to financially gain so much from this act of kindness. It just felt more like, hey, I'm doing this thing for charity because I can and I want to, or hey, I have anxiety too and I know that sometimes it can be really, really hard. But it also wouldn't be the first time that your girl was way too trusting of something that she saw online. On a scale of Cody to Noel, I'm about a 3. So it doesn't matter if it's something like talking about her own personal experiences in a video with her mental health, having her characters in her book have mental health issues that people can relate to, being a part of a charity single, or collabing with Lush with their hashtag I Am Whole campaign. All of these moments add up. All of these dominoes add up. And I think it would be incredibly sad to lose all of this awareness and finances for charity, but also all of this awareness and understanding for mental health issues, specifically anxiety, especially back in 2010 when it still was a teeny bit of a taboo subject. As I said before, I was diagnosed with severe depression and anxiety when I was 12, and I felt incredibly alone until people online started talking about it more openly and constructively. So personally, I'm quite thankful for Zoella and her content in this aspect, even though I was only a casual watcher of hers, and I'm also thankful for people like Zoella who were so open, because it helped me to eventually feel like less of a freak and helped me feel like I was less alone. And eventually, because of these creators and because of this content, I was able to understand myself and just learn how to live with all of the mental health issues that I have going on. I could of course be alone in this, I could be alone in this thought process, but I don't think so. I think that Zoella's openness online has genuinely helped people, and no matter how big or how small these dominoes may be, they all add up. Ultimately, Zoella is one of those creators that has really grown up in front of our eyes and learned everything online by doing everything. She's gone from this shy, bubbly vlogger doing her messy hair tutorials and Lush haul videos on the floor of her room to an intelligent businesswoman, author, and loving mother on our screens for the whole world to see. She has faced countless scandals, faced so much backlash, and carried through posting in the days of her irrelevancy. Whether you love Zoe, have moved on from her, meh her, or despise her, even though this video was only ever gonna be the tip of the iceberg, it is clear that 2013 to 2017's YouTube would have looked incredibly different in her absence. This overwhelming amount of family-friendly walking pumpkin spice latte vibe and aesthetic would also cease to exist. I say this both in context to Zoe as a person, because if pumpkin spice latte was a person, it would be Zoe. But also, just so many people clicked with this aesthetic and eventually adopted it as their own. And as I highlighted before, Zoella was an incredibly profitable person to be putting into titles and thumbnails, regardless of if the video was positive or negative. If the video wasn't with Zoella, it didn't matter, because there was so many videos gaining so much traction about Zoella. Because if you really think about it, if Zoella never posted to YouTube, then why would I be making this video? How are we all doing? How are we all doing? I'm exhausted. How are we all doing? Because if I'm feeling exhausted, I can only imagine how y'all are feeling. And I know that every time I post one of these videos, I get a few cheeky comments being like, oh good God, why would you do this to me? So I've just got to make sure that you are right as rain. As in, the rain isn't correct, or the rain isn't left. What does that saying mean? I've been saying that saying and not. The allusion in the simile is unclear, but it originated in Britain, where rainy weather is a normal fact of life. Okay, it's one of those things that just exists in the English language, and we don't know why. Great! The more you know. Either way, my brain is rapidly deflating for the day, so please let me know all of your thoughts and opinions. Let me know if you think I missed something. Let me know if you think I got something wrong, because hi, I'm JJ, I love learning, and one of my favorite ways to learn is to read all of your thoughts, opinions, and perspectives in the comments. Also, of course, please let me know if you still like this series of videos and who you want me to do next, and just in general, let me know what you want me to talk about next, because I know what I want me to talk about next, but I don't know what you want me to talk about next until you tell me. Also, I'm sorry that I didn't do a makeup look for this video. My brain has just been so frazzled recently, and I just needed to take a cheeky little break for myself, but I still wanted to get a video out for y'all. And thank you so much for watching this video, especially if you made it to here, because according to my microphone footage, everyone loves when I say this, I have 5 hours and 44 minutes worth of footage. Look, that's still faster than what I anticipated, because there is over 6,800 words worth of notes. that I was going with for this video. So thank you so much for watching this video and donating your precious, precious time to me. And I hope that you are just having a fantastic day, fantastic week, fantastic month, fantastic year. And I hope that you are doing as fantastic as always. Bye everyone.